Well, those are true. Uchimankai have her own protection against such things that would happen. And one point, we were stronger in spirituality and emotional and things we make connection to all creation. We have the plants, the medicine, we have the wakian, the mani, everything that is such that, Lakota people enjoy that life. They were in harmony with all creation. So that makes Unchi strong. Those happened a long time ago, but she deflects it because to protect what was real good. Everyone is in harmony, understanding one another, and honor one another, and try to help the environment of other creation. And so it was strong. And like I said, today we focus on certain things, and we never really focus within ourselves, What are we made of? What makes us move? What makes us think, Once we establish that, we could understand how the other creation are, the sun, the moon, the universe, the stars, the Vichakpi, and within Unchimanka. What holds Unchimanka together? Because, understanding the scientists, there's a lot of features around Unchimanka. It's just something that holds it. What holds it together, You could say gravity. Of course, that's a scientific understanding of this world. To a Lakota people would say what keeps it together is the understanding of all creation, understanding of all people. So when we're here and another one is here, the connection goes through and holds it together, just like a spider web, There are creation all over that have the same concept as we have, okay? Just like Uchimaka, and there's fissures all over, that could cracks all over that could go out. But when the Pangea start, remember, and the continents appeared here, because remember that we were half one time. One time, though, every creation lives on a solid ground and some in the waters. Of course, those are negative, they said. And so when the Pangea start, a lot of these are still here. The people were in a half. Okay, they understand that. Every culture trying to remember their creation or where they're from. And each culture have their own creation story as they think, and so a lot of this intertwine, holding together the same. Maybe they all have the same idea as we have at one point. And so those are the connection that hold this thing together. Because if one is weak in doing other things, the connection could be broken. And if it continues, Uchimanka will fall apart, as Lakota people believe, And what she just said is a big molten thing down below Uchimanka that holds us together as gravity. But, we all help each other as physical being, or all creation, Otherwise, we'll be flying out into the space. But because of that understanding of the powers of our spirituality, because each culture have their own symbolic thing that keeps them in a spiritual connection, We have the pipe, and some other have sacred bundles. Others have other things that they use to have that connection. And so that's what keep Untimanka connected, to pull each one of us together as a unit, okay? And so once that culture, whatever it is, disappear, broke in a connection, and finally it will be just like the Mayan calendar. You know, how it's important, how everybody have their own idea of what's going to happen. But I'm just a common man, so I said, well, whatever happens, it's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it. The reason why I'm saying that is because I'm getting close to 70 and I have a very short life, so I don't care. But it's you, the young people, really do need to announce to others that, you know, hey, we need to be a group once again, a unit, you know, and to begin another journey into the future, you know, in case that fourth cleansing of Unchimanka, if we're there, you know, we could still continue our way of life, our culture, our ceremonies that hold us together as a group of people who addressing each other as relatives, and the concept of mitakuoyasi will be really important part of our life once we do that, okay? But today we put everything in category, you know, less people, third world, whatever it is, first world, second world, or third world. I don't know the concept of that, but, you know, we always talk about that. We'd like to put everything in category, okay? And even every place is like that, you know. We're very geographical. If we go someplace and sit at some place, then next time we go, we'll still sit at that same place, because that's where we find our comfort zone. That's the place for us, you know. We could move around from chair to chair, but all of a sudden we'll find a place that's good for us. And then we'll stay there, you know, as long as we go to that particular place. So that's what keep Uchimanka in a way. It may be connected to something on the other side that have the same same thought pattern, same way of life, and you're connecting, and that what holds the Uchimanka together. It takes me a while to understand it. When Grandpa and them were talking about this, how Ichiakashkapi, how they tied one to another to hold in place. So we're important species in this life. I'm sure there's other planets that maybe have that concept, or maybe others, you know. So Lakota people believe there's life in other universe, you know. And so it is important for us to understand this kind of situation. Maybe it's hard, but we make it hard because it's our thought, you know. We can make it easier or make it harder for ourselves, because that's who we are. How we think is, we're going to make it harder, that's us, you know, that's our thought. Or make it easier, that's who we are, you know. And just like Makola here, he said he walked to every place, and it's easier for him to do. That's his thought, you know. Somebody might say, why don't you buy a car? But it's easier for him. That's his thought. That's his way of life, and that's his individual. And he feels good about it. So, you know, that's his way. Every one of us have. Whether it make it hard or make it easier for ourselves. And of course, long time ago, they come together in harmony, so they understand one another. They never push anybody away because of how that person is. And they're trying to bring out the best in that person. Every one of us have skills, so nobody ever was left out. We have handicaps then, but they have a skill, so they bring that out, the best in him, and use that. Even a person's handicapped, he may have skills of making bows and arrows, and they really encourage that. Or maybe he's a good a person to talk to, and they use that. Maybe a good singer, whatever it is, they bring it out, and they don't look at the disability of that person. Maybe that disability bring the best out of him or her. So. But like today, we concentrate on certain things, that we have to have the common sense in our lives, One time I asked somebody, hey, do you know this word? I said, wait, I gotta check my book. I gotta look at the book to see if it's in there. I asked this individual how he feels as an individual on certain things, but no, give me 5 minutes. I have to check the book, see if it's there. Okay, so that's, we're so into that. What happened to our common sense, And that's what the pipe was trying to instill into every individual. Trying to be who you are, just a simple man or women that understand the true meaning of life. I think that's the most wealthiest thing a person could have, Not in terms of money, but in terms of your individualistic, how you present yourself to others. And that's more, you have more than money can buy, And people will know that, but sometimes we don't, and that's how we sort of bounce off each other by understanding one another, There were times the death was such that, it's an everyday occurrence, and people expect that because, it's there, if one of relatives will dies, that was accepted because human sacrifices were evident at that time. And then it becomes where nobody cares. There are ways of dealing with death a long time ago. And it is presented in our reading during the time when they were in the spirit under the Black Hills, when Ate spirit was ready to leave, And people, the Pteri had to ask, what are we going to do with Ate? His spirit, he's old, his spirit is willing to leave. And so they were given an answer how to deal with that. And somewhere down the line it was forgotten. It was not important anymore. It's not, we just die. Just like 20 or some years ago, there's a group that, a cult, or I don't know, a Christian, whatever it is, called himself, science. And he said there's no spiritual life. Eat, drink, and be merry. When you die, you die. That's it. And a lot of people caught up on it because some that are not understand their own way of life, so they really go into that. Eat, drink, and be merry. When you die, that's just about it. Okay? And so... Oh yeah. And also, when that comet, forgot what it's called, bebop, it's a doorway to something, so everybody join that and kill themselves, they'll be the first one to go into heaven because of that comment. And a lot of things were, there at that time. But somehow, maybe at that time we began to have the sun dances, throughout the Indian country. And so maybe that helped stabilize those situations at that time, and then a beginning, how. And so it happens that way a long time ago. So the white buffalo cattleman, you got to have a keeping of the spirit of the one that has entered or gave the life-given breath was taken from that physical body. And there are things that you have to do. And keeping of the spirit is that, one of them. But it has to be a person, a family that have a lot of relatives that could help with this year long of keeping a spirit. Because when you do that, there are certain things, there are protocols that you have to go through. You cannot go hunting. You cannot use a knife, or you cannot kill anything. You have to guard that piece of that person's, maybe a hair or clothing, whatever it is that you, and care for it just like you would do that loved one that had passed away. Okay? And it's a year long. And so that's why you need the help of your family to care for you, hunt for you, bring you water. And if you're going to scratch yourself, they say you have a peg made out of a cedar, and they use that. And a lot of things you cannot say negative stuff to each other or to anyone, and you have to be there at that home, taking care of that person's, the spirit that you're keeping of that person. And every day you have to bring it out in a tripod and then feed that. So people come for that, people understanding that, so they bring stuff, food, whatever to them, so they can survive while they're keeping the spirit. So it's usually happens to a chief or a higher rank, as today we will usually put everybody in a category, a higher rank above the rest, that usually do that, keeping of the spirit, because it's a hard life, and there are times when you need to be a common man or doing things, yet you have this job to do, keeping of that spirit. You cannot allow it to hear negative things, or you cannot leave it alone. Someone have to be there all the time, and in a certain area, in a certain space that it's cleared for them. And so people understand that, and they go, and the people, if that person is well respected, the chances that he will survive during that 13 months of keeping of the spirit, And so those are the chances that they would take, especially if you lost a child and it's a male, that it would be a devastating thing that could happen to anyone. We all lost ones that we love, and you know how hard it is for all of us. And so when that happens, there are certain things that could happen. And there's another way of a protocol for those who are not higher in rank. Okay? A chief or higher in rank would have 13 months of mourning or keeping of the spirit. And those of us who are common, we have 4 days of wake, 4 days after the burial in the proper way, and then we have another 4 days of mourning. Okay? And after that, we go back into the family. And usually, a long time ago, wiping of tears usually starts within the Tioshpaya. Okay? Tioshpaya. And then the whole family, the Wichoe, the home is where they started, and then the Tioshpaya, and then to the Oyate, or the nation. Okay? The head of the family would usually do the wiping of tears at home, and they waited for a while, and then the community, the Tioshpa, would come and did the wiping of tears, that they now could come, they are accepted back as a person of value. Okay. And then after, usually in the early spring, when the conventions of all the tribes, and they do that. Their Itancha, the ambassador or the councilman, would go and tell the general meeting that these are now ready to come back into the fold, and to do things as they did before, and they wipe the tears of those families. Okay, so it usually is that way, and usually 4 days awake, because they believe that the spirit will go back to the time of birth. He has to travel back to that place and come back around and to the time of death. So usually they would have a wait about 4 days. I'll give you a handout, it's in there. And after that, 4 days of mourning, only 4 days. You can cry and do things and to show that you're in mourning, crying. But that's it. After 4 days, you have to be normal. But if you go over 4 days, you're still crying, the negative and the positive spirits say, or maybe he wants to cry some more, and something will happen again. So they usually quit, talk to a medicine man or person, and then they quit. And then after that, 4 more days of beginning to relive their lives once more. Because knowing that when the 4 days here, after 4 days he'll come back and leave, and after 4 days of mourning he'll come back, and a final exit out of this world into the spirit world. And after the 4th day, you compose yourself, the family, and then began to live a life. So, but if you think, or if person knows that have big family, Tioshpaya, it's usually a 13-month ordeal. And after that, when they release the spirit, they would have a feast and wiping of tears. And there's a ritual, there's ceremony there that they usually do during that time. Okay? And so it is in that sense, you do that if you cannot afford to keep the spirit of someone. Okay? So, but today we always do, we usually wait 1 year in time of death. We have a memorial dinner and a feast and giveaways, so we're still following some of this tradition. Long time ago, they don't have any funeral persons that would embalm them, Today we do, but just one night and stuff like that. Because 4 nights is a time when they make that journey, When they complete that journey, they would come back once more and make that connection in the doorway to the spirit world. They have to come with towing blue women. He will be the judge if you're you're fit enough to go into the spirit world. Okay, so during that time, they usually cut the Milky Way. If you see Milky Way, then they usually cut it in four. Okay, after the burial and the person comes back, then he make that journey. There are a lot of things there that would entice him or her or the child to come back to Earth. You know, we have spirits here, that negative spirit here would rather have you here than leave them, you know. And so first day they usually make that journey and rest, and that's when they usually pray for them, you know, to be strong, continue your journey. That's why they give them food or whatever that is necessary for their journey. You know. Second night, they would go again and rest. That's why Ikto, Anugite, and those will be there. And they will all try to charm or whatever it is back into this world. And then again, they start again. And the last one is here, and then into the spirit world. And usually they have a ceremony to see if they reach into the spirit world. And that's our way of show that we care. They may get in there before that, but because we care, we ask the assistance of a medicine man, their spirit, because medicine men also could go into the spirit world and come back. That's why they have to go to a different place, because they're already seen the spiritual part of our life. Okay. And so, then we pray that Tohi will have compassion enough. Okay, go in. You know, that's why for women, they have to have a mark. So around 6 years old, when they don't have a blue mark, they usually have a tattoo someplace in their hair or body, on their arm. If they don't have that, to show that, you know, that's a passage for that person, that women, to go into the spirit world. Okay, and reason is that, you know, the women are creators of nation, and how they take care of that nation as that child is growing. How do they instill values, and how they disciplinary, and how they do this with the aid of the male. And if they don't, you know, you're going to have to talk really hard here in order not to come back into this world, you know. And usually if a woman comes back and a child is somehow tempted to come back, they usually help them into the spirit world and make that journey once again to go into the spirit world, you know. So, and that's how a lot of the Lakota people believe in the spirituality. So if the spirit is ready to go, there's nothing nobody can do to stop that. They may prolong it, but that's it. Even the spirits of medicine men cannot stop that. But today we always, the last chance, if it's a terminal, whatever it is, and ready to die, we go to a medicine man, but it's too late, you know. And we always blame, I went over there, but he died anyway, you know. So, you know, that's not supposed to happen. They have to go before that. And even that, if that person died, you still have to need the aid of the medicine man to make sure that person gets into the spirit world. Okay. I went through that, my wife and I. Our daughter died in a car accident, so we have to go through all that. And she's a twin, so we go to Butte and do a ceremony. Tell the nation of twins, we thank them that even though she spent 18 years of her life with us, we're thankful for that. So whatever she will do next, we want the protection of the twin Oyate Maybe she'll come again in a different place. Because they all have a job, the twins. They come back so far, and if they need it, one of them will go back. And then come again with another one. Because sometimes spirits of children are afraid. So they need two to come. And also to, how would I say this? Two will come to disguise. Because Anugita and them will try to get into this young child spirit, take the spirit. So if two comes, and if they look alike, they don't know which one. And they kind of stand there like this, and I give up, you know. So the twins come from Butte. There are stories sometime late at night, a good day, they could hear children around them, you know, laughing and playing. And so there are evidence of that. I heard some stories of that, you know. One time a young man said, hey, I must be crazy, but I was spent some night at Butte. I was walking along a trail, see how it looks. It's a moonlight, and get onto the top and see how it looks during the night. And here I heard a lot of children. I wasn't scared, but it did something, so I just come back off the trail out of respect for them. Maybe it's their time to do that. Okay, so yeah, it is a lot of ways of doing this. We did. First night we prayed, and the things that the negative spirit are afraid of is the branch of a cottonwood, how it rattles. So we use those. Hopefully next week I will tell you some ceremonies that I know that concern our children. They're simple. They probably, in time, as we tell time, they probably take about 10, 15 minutes. And usually the grandma or grandpa or the mother or the father or auntie, Tony will do this. It's simple. We don't have to drag it along, you know. It's just simple things that from nature we use to help us in that. Or if a twin will be born, they usually go to that place and thank them, help them, you know, to become whatever it is, how long that they will be here, you know. Because it's understanding one will usually go back. Maybe how many in later years, but one will go back. Or sometimes they usually don't come. They usually bring one and the other one go back again. Stillborn or something. So we have ceremonies for that. So the family would be devastated from that, you know, because if a person is devastating because of a life that has not exist, and there is suicidal and a lot of things that interconnect with that. And the negative spirit really like that, you know. Hey, you should go and kill yourself to be with that child. But if you kill yourself, you're not going to go over there. You're going to be here, you know. And
so when that person does commit suicide, they go to a different place?
No, they're still here.
They stay here?
Until someone rescues them and puts them into the doorway to go into the spirit world.
So you can have ceremonies for
Right.
them and help them that way?
If you know that person. Sometime when you hear something and don't understand it, you do something to get rid of that. It might be a relative of yours, but you don't understand, so you tell the spirit to have that, whatever it is, have it out of the way, you know. I don't like to hear those noises or ghosts, and get him out of here, and they will. They'll probably send him to overseas someplace, and that's where that spirit will really have difficult time. He won't know anybody over there. Probably is walking across the sand, trying to get back, and then after a while they turn evil.